Hi y'all, and welcome back to Cammie's Kitchen. It has been way too long since I did a sweet recipe, so today we will be making sourdough discard cinnamon rolls. We're going to start by mixing up our dough and letting it rise until it's nice and puffy. While that's happening, we'll prepare our sweet, buttery cinnamon filling. Once our dough has doubled in size, we'll roll it out, spread the filling all over, and then shape and cut our rolls before letting them sit for their second rise. During that time, we'll make a delicious, rich cream cheese frosting, the perfect finishing touch. Then, once our rolls are ready, we'll bake them to golden perfection, top them with a creamy frosting, and enjoy them soft, fluffy, and fresh from the oven. Let's get started. If you are new to the world of sourdough, you will know that it is super difficult to find any recipe that takes less than 6 hours. It's probably the one thing I have really loathed about sourdough because I'm not a patient person. If I'm craving cinnamon rolls, I want those today. And it's really difficult to find recipes that you can make that quick with sourdough discard. That is why I love this one. It only requires 2 rest times. They're both super short, and we are going to be able to make these cinnamon rolls from start to finish in 2 hours. The first thing we want to do is add our 180 grams of warm whole milk and 7 grams of active dry yeast into our mixing bowl. This step is very important. Do not mix your yeast and your milk. Just allow it to sit on the surface of the warm milk, and you should notice that it starts to either foam, bubble, or you start noticing a yeasty smell coming from the bowl. This means that it's starting to activate. If for some reason 5 minutes has passed and your yeast has sank to the bottom, this could mean multiple things, but most of the time it means that your milk was not warm enough or too warm. It needs to be the perfect temperature for your yeast to be happy and become active. Next, we are going to add 140 grams of sourdough discard, 50 grams of brown sugar, 3 large eggs at room temperature, 30 grams of honey, 500 grams of all-purpose flour, 7 grams of salt, and last but not least, 113 grams or a whole stick of unsalted melted butter. Using our dough hook attachment on the stand mixer, we are going to start mixing on low speed until everything begins to come together. After mixing on low for about a minute, go ahead and increase your mixer to medium speed and let the dough knead for about 7 minutes. You'll notice it becoming smooth, elastic, and just a little bit tacky. Once your 7 minutes are up and you lift your dough hook out of your stand mixer, don't freak out if most of the dough is stuck to the hook. Just use a non-stick or silicone spatula and scrape it back into the dough ball of your bowl. You'll also notice that any dough stuck to the sides of the bowl should come off super easy. If it doesn't, that's a sign that your dough needs a little more kneading. So go ahead and knead it a bit longer until it's smooth and elastic. Now that our dough is ready, all we have to do is set it aside for its first rise. Simply want to take a clean dish towel or any kind of plastic wrap. If you've seen any of my other sourdough videos, I absolutely love using these plastic shower caps because they are just so easy to put on. This is going to take 30 to 60 minutes to rise depending on the temperature in your kitchen. I usually put mine right behind me on top of my stove when it's not on, obviously, and that seems to be a really good place because it rises very quickly. So mine will probably be doubled in size by the 30-minute mark. If you keep your kitchen or your house a little cooler, then it might take the full 60 minutes, but just continue watching it and it should double in size. It has almost been the full 30 minutes, so we're gonna go ahead and prep our pan as well as our filling. So as soon as it's ready, we can start rolling it out and filling it. I am using a 13x9 baking pan for these cinnamon rolls, but if you don't have one this big, you can always use 2 smaller pans. You also have the choice of greasing your pan with either a neutral flavored oil like avocado oil or butter. I personally love using butter because it adds a little extra flavor and richness to the outside of the rolls, giving them that golden, slightly crispy edge while keeping the inside soft and tender. For this recipe, I'm using a little bit of unsalted softened butter. For our cinnamon sugar filling, we are going to combine 124 grams of light brown sugar with 14 grams of cinnamon. Mix that together until they are well incorporated. Next, we'll take 2 tablespoons of butter, cut them into small pieces, and melt them. This will help us spread the filling evenly over our dough later. Now that our filling is ready and our pan is prepped, it is time to check on our dough. And if I may say so myself, she is looking beautiful. Mine has over doubled in size. Yours should be either looking like this or a little bit bigger, but you definitely should notice a significant change from the size of the dough that you placed in here at the beginning. Also, you want to be able to put your hands on it, touch it, poke it, whatever you want to do, and not have any on your hands when you take them off. Shouldn't be sticky to the touch whatsoever. And now we want to lightly flour your countertop so we can start rolling it out. Once you've taken your dough out of the bowl and onto a lightly floured countertop, sprinkle a little flour on your hands. This makes it so much easier to work with the dough. Start by gently shaping it into a rough rectangle, then use your rolling pin, which I also like to flour a little bit, to roll it out to your preferred length. Y'all, I am not the kind of person that measures this with a ruler or any kind of measuring device. I just kind of roll with it until it looks big enough to me that I'm gonna get enough cinnamon rolls. You don't want the dough to be too thin, so I usually aim for the thickness of my pinky finger, and usually that is perfect every time. Next, grab a silicone brush and your melted butter. Generously coat your slab of dough from top to bottom. This part is super important. Every bit of the dough needs to be covered in butter. If there are spots without butter, the cinnamon sugar mixture will not stick properly and your flavor will end up uneven. Once your dough is fully coated, take your cinnamon sugar filling and sprinkle it over the top with your hands. It might look like a lot, but trust me, it's the perfect amount. Use your hand to gently distribute it evenly all the way to the edges, making sure every bit of your cinnamon rolls will be full of that sweet cinnamon goodness. This hack is going to change the way you make cinnamon rolls, I promise. I have always been taught that in order to make cinnamon rolls, we need to get to this step, and then what we need to do next is roll the cinnamon roll so we get one large roll, and then cut even pieces of the roll to get our 6 or 12 or whatever rolls, right? Not today. Today we are gonna do it Cammie's way, and I'm about to change your life. You will need some kind of cutting tool. I absolutely love using a dough scraper. It's one of my favorite tools in the kitchen, but a sharp knife works perfectly fine too. Instead of rolling your dough into a log and slicing it the traditional way, we're actually going to cut strips straight from the slab, starting at the bottom. This method is great because it helps maintain that beautiful round shape for each cinnamon roll. It also makes it super easy to control how thick your rolls are so everyone comes out uniform and perfectly circular. One strip at a time, start rolling the dough from one end to the other to form a cinnamon roll. To ensure the best results, I always make sure that the starting corner of my strip is rolled super tight. That makes it much easier to continue rolling all the way down the strip. Repeat this process with each strip until the entire slab of dough is rolled out. And how freaking cool is this, y'all? Once all your rolls are shaped, place them in the prepared 9x13 pan. Keep in mind that the rolls will rise and expand during the second rise, so leave a little space between the rolls and the edges of the pan. Just a few centimeters will give them plenty of room to grow beautifully. These cinnamon rolls are chunky today. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm so excited actually about it. But the reason that this happened is because when I rolled out my rectangle, I actually think I rolled out too much in width instead of in height. So just keep this in mind. The more width that you roll out, the thicker that your cinnamon roll is going to be. There's nothing wrong with that. And as you can see, mine are all kind of touching in the pan. When they rise for the second time, they will just look like they are about to explode out of this pan, but that is perfectly fine. So we want to take a dry kitchen towel or cling wrap or whatever you want, cover this up, and we're gonna let it sit for 30 minutes. We have about 10 minutes left on our second rise, so it's time to preheat our oven to 325. Also, I always like to mention that this is the kind of recipe that you can 100% make the day prior if you know you're going to an event or a gathering or anywhere where you want to bring rolls and you want them to be super fresh. If that is your plan, that is absolutely perfect. All you have to do at this point is to cover up your rolls with plastic wrap, cling wrap, shower cap, anything, and stick them in the fridge. Super important to remember, however, is that your window of time needs to be from 6 hours to a max of 12. If for some reason you exceed 12 hours in the fridge, they will overproof in there, and that means that they will not rise and they'll be kind of flat when you bake them. So you want to avoid that. So 6 hours is really the sweet spot. Moment of truth. Oh my gosh, these look beautiful. I will say though that they did not rise quite as much as they normally do, and I think that's partially my fault because I left them on the island instead of placing them in the warm spot like I usually do in my stovetop. That being said, it's totally fine. I could let them rise for another 30 minutes and I'm sure that would make a difference, but I am really craving a cinnamon roll right now. And our oven is already preheated. So we're gonna go ahead and stick these in there for 35 minutes, and I'm sure they are gonna turn out amazing. While our rolls are baking to perfection, we are gonna take advantage of the time, take out your stand mixer again if you have one, and make our cream cheese frosting. I really do believe that a really good frosting can make or break your cinnamon rolls. And I love this recipe because it only takes 3 ingredients, and one of the ingredients is definitely not vanilla extract. I cannot stand baking with that because I feel like the flavor is so artificial and so potent that that's all I can taste. And this one doesn't have it, so hopefully y'all like it as much as I do. In the bowl of our stand mixer, we want to combine 2 ounces of softened cream cheese, 4 tablespoons of heavy cream, and 150 grams of powdered sugar. You want to start the mixer on low speed to bring everything together, then increase to medium and beat for about 1 minute. You want your consistency to be smooth and creamy with no lumps. Perfect for topping our cinnamon rolls. I can honestly say that the second best thing, apart from of course eating the cinnamon rolls, is the smell. You're welcome, by the way. Your kitchen, your house is going to smell like delicious cinnamon for probably the whole night. Ideally, you want to wait about 10 to 15 minutes after the rolls come out of the oven before you add your cream cheese frosting. Once they're slightly cooled, take a spoon and add a dollop of frosting onto each roll. Using the back of the spoon, now gently spread it so there's an even layer on every roll. Now that they're officially ready, serve and enjoy. And may I just say that these are the fluffiest cinnamon rolls ever. I'm going all in. Cave woman style, no fork, just my fingers. I promise I'll wash my hands. Wow. Look how easy they pull apart. I have been waiting all day for this, y'all. Oh my gosh, okay, here we go. I mean, can we just take a second to acknowledge the fact that I just cut that with a fork? Like, that is how soft this dough is. These are dangerous, is what these are. That is perfect. Super soft, the perfect amount of sweetness, a lot of cinnamon, amazing, like the perfect balance. I am not a big sweets person, so when I make a dessert, just know that it will always be on the less sweet side. However, I only used about half of my cream cheese frosting. So if you do believe that they are not sweet enough for you, then simply put more cream cheese frosting on it, or you can actually just start pulling it apart like this and just dipping it into your cream cheese frosting. Ooh, that'd probably be amazing. Wow. As always, y'all, thank y'all so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. If you try this recipe at home, please let me know in the comments below. Or if you like sweeter recipes more than you do savory, please let me know. That's the only way I know what to make next. Bye, y'all.